Well, following President Cyril Ramaphosa's official trip to Kenya this week, a new mutual visa-free system between South Africa and Kenya has been announced. Both presidents say this is the resolution of a long-standing visa dispute. Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi, the Minister of Home Affairs, joins us now to tell us more about that and other developments in the department. Good evening and welcome, Minister. Thank you for joining us on Full View. South Africa already receives free visas on arrival in Kenya. Kenyans are required to provide proof of funds and return ticket flights. So this agreement changes things quite significantly, doesn't it?
Good evening, Iman, and good evening to the listeners and viewers. Yes, indeed, it is something that we've been discussing for the past 3 years, and Kenyans definitely were not happy of the fact that any South African can just take their passport, go to Kenya, whether as a tourist or for business or for leisure or for whatever. But when Kenyans had to do the same to South Africa, they had to apply for a visa. And that did not sit well with them. And that's why we've been negotiating it for the past 3 years. You'll remember, Iman, that the former president of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta, paid a state visit to South Africa every year, where we discussed this matter further. And they chose a task team, which was given 6 months by both presidents to report back and finalize this matter. And we're happy that at long last it has been finalized.
All right, so things can be fired up and turned around quite quickly then, Minister. Are similar agreements likely and imminent with other territories?
Well, look, the issue of countries visiting each other visa-free is an ongoing debate around the whole world. You may also remember, Iman, that during my budget speech in 2019, I announced 6 more countries that could come visa-free to South Africa. 6 more, when I say 6 more, is on top of the whole of SADC, which is coming visa-free to South Africa, the whole of Europe and the USA. They come visa-free to South Africa, but on top of that, we added 6 other countries that included Ghana, Cape Verde, included Saudi Arabia, included Cuba, and I think 2 other countries. And of course, since that time, Kenya was very unimpressed why we are extending to other countries and we leave them behind when they regard themselves to be the biggest economy in East Africa, and that they are having very close economic ties with South Africa, which of course is true. So it is ongoing now. These are not the only countries. We have got a lineup of countries that are also wish to have visa-free status in South Africa.
So a diplomatic and a practical victory there. Minister, let's talk about borders, but with a different focus now. What is the impact of the ongoing strike of the Public Servant Association of South Africa on DHA offices, port operations, especially in places like Beitbridge and Lebombo?
Unfortunately, because I'm just from the NEC, I didn't get the report today. But at the end of yesterday, Iman, there was no problem. I know that SABC News, at least 3 news bulletins I listened to yesterday, have been announcing a 10-kilometer queue at Lebombo, and they were trying to link it with the strike. And I did try to correct that. It had nothing to do with the strike. The queue at Lebombo yesterday was because yesterday and today are public. Mozambicans come in large numbers to Nelspruit, in Bombela, in Mpumalanga, to come and do some shopping and going back. So it is something that we've been expecting. It was not the strike. Coming to the strike, in the other border posts, we really didn't experience any problem, even though we had contingency plans. On Home Affairs offices, we experienced the problem in Soshanguve office in Gauteng. The workers were there at work, but they were intimidated. Then the other problems occurred in KZN. In KZN, we had 78 offices and service points, and only 9 of them were affected. But all over the country, all the 412 Home Affairs offices never experienced any problems except the ones I've mentioned, the 9 in KZN
Yeah.
and the one in Soshanguve.
Well, it sounds like there's a crisis coming, Minister, because we just spoke to the PSA on Full View about an hour ago, and there is a risk, to put it in their words, of the closing of the borders. Certainly, they're talking about things like go-slows. What options are you considering if this happens?
Yeah, they can, of course, but they won't close our borders because that will be illegal. The borders are used not only by South Africa, they are used by South Africa and the neighboring countries. And before we close any border, we have to talk to the neighboring countries because they will be very badly affected. So borders don't just get closed like that. Anybody who closes them by force, of course, that is illegal. But in preparation of this strike, we put up contingency plans in case some of the workers who are on strike don't come to work. But we don't think the borders will be closed, not at all.
Yeah.
Unless they close them by force, in which case it's a police case. We'll have to bring the police and the army. But if they just close it by staying away, we have put together contingency plans.
Just give us a hint as to those contingencies, Minister.
Well, first of all, police are an essential service. They don't go on strike, and they've got the presence at the borders. All we need to do is to train them to become immigration officers, to understand how to stamp passports, etc. But you are also aware that on the 14th of July, we posted the first contingent of border guards, 200 border guards to our borders, who are also who are trained in access control. It is not difficult just to turn them into immigration officers, and those are the contingency plans we have put in place. But we didn't have to evoke any one of those contingency plans yesterday, and so I don't think even today they were evoked.
Well, let's go to one other matter before I let you go, Minister. The Pretoria High Court now giving your department 30 days to process the permanent residence applications for about, I think it's 182 would-be immigrants. We understand some of those people have been waiting many years now for a decision. Are you planning to fight this court's decision?
No, there's no need to fight it, Iman. We are a law-abiding department. We will abide by the court decision. But we have just mentioned that some of the propaganda around this issue was that the people were bringing together 15 billion rand and were depriving the country of investment of 15 billion. 91 of those people who were already looked into are into retirement, and to tell the country that they were bringing 15 billion rand is massive propaganda. Having said so, Imam, we are not challenging the court case because we will abide by it because we are not refusing to process. The court case was not saying issue permanent residence. It was saying please process. Now, I want to mention to you that we do have problems in this regard. You may remember the story of Bushiri. After Bushiri left the country, we discovered that he was actually a permanent resident. He got false documents, fraudulent documents, and we discovered some other people. Now, the people who are working in permitting, who are issuing these permits, we will find that a lot of implicated in this, and we suspended them. We could not continue working with them knowing what type of people they are and what they are doing. But when you suspend them, you open a great shortage of staff. So we are sitting between the rock and a hard place, but we'll still abide by the court case. We are not regretting. I'm trying not to regret. I'm not trying to regret that we suspended people. We had to suspend them because we could not let them do work when we know that the work they are doing is fraudulent. But on the other hand, when you suspend them, we have got shortage of staff, and to fill up that staff needs some bit of time.
So are you going to be able to meet the deadline, though, finalizing this within 30 days?
Yeah, no, we will. We have got no option. It's a court order. Everybody ought to abide by a court order because we are a law-abiding country. We have got to follow the laws of the country.
Minister, just one more loop back on as you say, the 15 billion rand propaganda, which we were told, according to the lawyers representing some of the individuals, German, British, US investors, they were going to put it into property or business investment. This you are outright dismissing as fact.
Well, I'm saying there's no proof. There's no scientific proof for that. We don't understand how they arrive at 15 billion. But I'm telling you, out of the number of people, the 182 people which the court instructed us, I said already that 91, which we have already processed, consist mainly of spouses, of children, of dependents, and people who are coming here to retire. And those categories of people don't bring massive investment and property into any country. We think it was just massive pressure or to make the public angry that were the ones who are depriving them to investments of 15 billion rand. You know, Iman, when people invest in a country, if they believe the country is worth investing in, things like that you didn't finish my permanent permits do not really come in. There are lots of investors who are bringing massive amounts of money who are not permanent residents in South Africa. People don't only invest because they are permanent residents. I mean, most of the world billionaires who invest all over the world are not permanent residents in that country. So it was just used to put us in very bad light, to make people who are unemployed to get more angrier and say, if it was not for the Department of Home Affairs, I would have had employment, 15 billion rand will have arrived in the country. Basically, we believe that is the reason.
Right. Because
otherwise, nobody could prove to us how they arrived at the figure of 15 billion.
We'll leave it on that note, and thank you for talking to us this evening. Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi is the Minister of Home Affairs, joining us on Full View. Talk about this latest development around visas between Kenya and South Africa, and touching on the latest decision from the Pretoria High Court with regard to those permanent residence permits.